Hi everyone, hope you're all well. If you follow my channel, you may have noticed that I've been on a bit of a hiatus lately, kind of an accidental one. There are a few projects that I started that I may finish down the road, but today I want to talk about something that's happening right now and something I'm really excited about, and that is redecorating, or at least potentially redecorating my house. I've been using a service called Modsy, so today I want to give you a little bit of background about the projects that I want to undertake. I'll explain how Modsy as a service works, and then I'll share the initial designs that I've gotten for 3 of my rooms from Modsy, as well as some of the revisions that I've made on my own so far. I've wanted to change things up in my house for a long time. I'm really a homebody. I like being at home, and so I want to get the most out of my space. And since we moved into this house even 4 years ago, it still hasn't felt quite done. So I decided to use Modsy. Modsy is an online interior design / decorating service. In a nutshell, you take pictures of your space and send them to Modsy, talk to them about your vision for those spaces, and then they create 3D photorealistic renderings of your spaces with different design options. And this video is not sponsored at all. I just really wanted to try them. So some background. I think when we first bought the house, our strategy was to fill it with things that would go with the house instead of stopping and thinking about our own styles and what we wanted to see here. And at least partially because we have polished concrete floors throughout the entire house, I think we defaulted to this sort of clean, contemporary West Elmy vibe, and there's nothing wrong with that. I really like my house, but it still never felt entirely cohesive. And plus, I think our styles have changed a little bit and matured a little bit. And there are also challenges that we've never found great solutions to, like the layout of the living room and how to get more seating out of it so we can have guests, and what the heck to do with the guest room, and picking a new light fixture for above the dining room table. So it was time to call in some professionals. Modsy offers a multi-room package, so that's what I signed up for, and you can get 3 rooms designed simultaneously at the same time. And so I chose to get designs for our open-ish living and dining situation, our guest bedroom, and our master bedroom. Now, when you create a project on Modsy, you need to take photos of your room and upload it to their website. You can also tell them about your vision for the space and include links to Pinterest boards or other websites that you're inspired by, or other people's Instagrams, or whatever you want the stylists and designers to take into account and incorporate into your spaces. You can link those all up in your project. And then you set a budget for the project overall, as well as for individual pieces. So you can specify a budget range for pieces of furniture like sofas or coffee tables, or accents like art or vases or whatever. You can set price ranges for all of those things. Now, if your package includes it, you can also set up a call with your consultant. I had the option to have a call either before or after receiving my initial designs, and since I'm doing 3 whole rooms, I decided to talk to my consultant beforehand. Her name is Megan. She's great. She explained a bit about Modsy's process, and then I babbled at her for an hour about my vision for each of the rooms. And what I really want, and what I told her I wanted, is more of a classic or traditional look. Again, I love a lot of character, and so I wanted to inject some of that. And I want it to feel kind of characterful, but still comfortable and livable. I don't want it to be a farce of itself. And I think she really got that vision, and we also looked over my Pinterest boards that I created for her. So I think she got it, and she told me that some stylists would create the initial 2 designs for each room, and then after that point, she and I would work one-on-one to incorporate any feedback or changes into those designs. Now, I had my call with Megan on a Sunday, and I started getting my designs back on Tuesday. So the turnaround was really quick. Anyway, with no further ado, I'm going to show you what Modsy sent me. Alright, at the risk of this becoming a very long video, I'm going to walk through all of the designs that Modsy sent me, and again, I asked them for designs for our living room and dining room, our guest room, and our master bedroom. So for the living room, first of all, if you want to see a full house tour, what everything looks like right now, I will link my house tour in the description below. But in a nutshell, I told the Modsy designer that I wanted to see more character, more seating for when we entertain in the living room. Right now, our seating is very limited. We have a love seat and two chairs, so even if two other people come over in addition to me and my husband, it's already kind of awkward. So I wanted more seating and I wanted some ideas for what to do in this awkward corner that we have. I will say right off the bat that one drawback of Modsy is that they currently cannot render window treatments. So if you want to play around with different curtain options or play around with blinds or things like woodwork, they can't render as well. So that's unfortunate, but we'll move on. And that is something that you can discuss with your Modsy consultant. So they can't render it, but they can sort of help to guide you help to guide you with things like window treatments or woodwork. So this is the first design they sent. I do like that they gave us more seating with the two Chesterfields. I think, however, that the color palette is a little too muted. With all of this beige, it looks kind of beachy to me. Here's the same room at a different angle. Over here they added a bookcase, and since we already have two built-ins, I don't think we really need one over there, but I like that they're trying to use the space. And then over here in this corner, they gave us more seating. I like this kind of intimate seating arrangement that they've given us, but again, I think the color palette is a bit too washed out, and I think the scale of these pieces in this corner isn't quite right because we have very high 12-foot ceilings, and so I think we need something with a little bit more height in this corner, but overall, I think the renderings are really compelling. I think the level of detail that they provided in these images is really nice. And here is what they provided for our dining room. They did incorporate the archway, which I'm just super impressed by. That is the actual shape of our archway. I think it's a little too tall, but I didn't give them the dimensions of the archway, so that's not their fault. One mistake here, though, is we have a closet where they put this console table, so we couldn't actually put a console table and a mirror here because the wall juts out and we have a utility closet where they've put that. But we could find things that are a little bit smaller in scale and move them closer to the archway if we wanted to balance out anything happening on the right-hand side. I do quite like the pendant light that they gave us. It's still kind of traditional, but it's a little more fun with those, it's sort of like fish netting, gold fish netting over the lampshade. Now, another thing to point out is that Modsy will recreate pieces of furniture that you already have if you want to see those in your designs, but it's for a fee. So for $15, they will create a model and render in pieces of furniture that you already have. I didn't opt to do that, but I like that the designer chose a dining table that's similar to mine because I did mention that I wanted to keep our dining table. Now, I would love to show you the 360 view. This is the most compelling part of the experience for me, but whenever I record my screen, it goes into a weird fisheye mode. See? It looks weird and distorted, and this is not at all what it looks like when you're not recording, so that's unfortunate. You're just going to have to take my word for it. It's really nice. The level of fidelity that they provide, especially in the 360 views, I think is really cool. Moving on, this is the second design option that Modsy provided. I like the color palette in this option a little bit better. It's not as kind of beigey and coastal. I like that the Chesterfield here is leather. I really like having a leather element. It just kind of changes up the texture in a room, and I really do like the orientation of these chairs. I'm not, however, sold on the chaise extension. I think that makes it necessarily more informal. Not that I want my living room to be formal, but you kind of can't really dress up this extension, at least not in the way that I'm sort of envisioning for this room. Here's the same room at a different angle. And here's what they did in this revision with our awkward corner. This is actually really similar to what we already have in this corner. We have a console table and a chair where this plant is. I do like the idea of adding a mirror to the side of the room. I think that that would help to bounce the light around and make it feel larger. And then here is their rendering of our dining room for this design option. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not really a fan of really anything here. All right, this is now my revisions of the living room space, and I am not an interior designer, so this is not as sort of polished and thoughtful as I think Modsy's designs were, but this I think it's great for me to be able to swap out pieces and play around with things myself so I can continue to have I can have a better conversation with my Modsy consultant since I can do that. So one of the things that I swapped out was some of the lower chairs that Modsy had included in one of their designs for these higher wingback chairs. We currently do have a very high, very orange wingback chair in our living room, and I don't like the color and I don't like the shape of it, but I like that it's quite tall. So I added in two wingback chairs over here. I made the sofa a plain, no chaise extension Chesterfield, and I also added in our coffee table. So I didn't pay Modsy to recreate our coffee table, but they had the same West Elm coffee table that we already owned, so I added that into the living room just to see how it would look. Now, from this perspective, I think it kind of looks okay, but in reality, with like a plaid pillow like this, if I want to make the room warmer and a bit more casual and have more of that traditional vibe, that I'm not sure that that goes with the white Carrera marble top, but it's fun to be able to add these things in and see how things go or don't go together. I also added in this lamp that is sort of more of a library style reading lamp, which is more in the vein of what I'd like to see in this space. Here's the same room from a different angle. And here's my version of what we could do in our awkward corner. I kept the mirror. I tried to drag it down and put it right on top of this table, but their software wouldn't let me do that. They didn't have our exact console table, but this one was close enough. And so if we can keep our coffee table and our console table, I think that would be great. And then underneath the console table, you see this little ottoman. And actually there are two of them. If I go back to this image, there's an ottoman underneath one of these wingback chairs. So my idea here is that we could have two of these little really easily movable ottomans that are typically stored underneath this console table, but if we want to use them as an ottoman with the sofa or with the chairs, we could easily drag them out, or we could use them as additional seating if we have a lot of guests come over. And then finally, these are my revisions for the dining room area. Again, we just don't have the space. Over here is where we have a closet, so we can't have anything over here. I'm not in love with the two things that I have going on the walls, but I think they are closer to what I would like to see in this space than what Modsy provided in the original design. So this is just sort of a talking point for me and the consultant moving forward. And I swapped out the dining chairs for these leather upholstered green dining chairs, which I think look really cool, but are probably not practical. Next are the designs for the master bedroom. Now, for this space, I told the Modsy designer that I wanted it to have a very similar feel to the living room, but a little bit calmer, a little bit simpler, a little bit more like a hotel. My Modsy consultant and I talked about a lot of stuff. We did discuss metal beds, sort of wrought iron beds, canopy beds, and seating options. I told her I either wanted a bench at the end of the bed or a leather chair, and I told her that I liked the convenience of having a floor mirror, but it wasn't something that we're married to. My husband and I also could probably get rid of the dresser to create more space in this room if we had beefier nightstands to hold things like socks and underwear. So this is the first design that the Modsy team sent. I like that they gave us the option of a canopy bed. I don't like this particular canopy bed, but it's interesting to see this space using something like that. I like that she provided us with some seating. Together, these two ottomans make sort of a bench shape, but they could also be used separately for more seating. I like the idea that we could drag these out even into the living room if we needed to, if we had a ton of guests over. And then you get this awkward horse on the wall between the door to our bedroom and the door to our master bath. I'm I'm not sure where this guy came from, but I don't think he needs to be in our bedroom. All right, this is the second design option for the master bedroom that Modsy sent us. Again, there's a weird horse. I'm not sure what's up with the horse theme. Maybe that's what they thought when I said sort of rustic or British country or something. I did talk to the Modsy consultant about sconces. Again, I like this sort of hotel feel, so I asked her to maybe explore sconces, but I do think that these sconces are just a little too dinky. I think they look a little too small. But here they also incorporated a metal bed. I don't like the style of this metal bed, but I've tried to swap it out, as you'll see in a moment, with others, and they just don't have any other good options. And here's what they put on the wall across from that. Again, this is our entry into the bedroom, and this is our master bath, and they have this sort of mid-century modern chair just hanging out. All right, now this is my revision of the master bedroom. So I just swapped stuff out and made it a little more in line with what I would like to see in this space. So I kept the bed just because they didn't have any other metal bed options that were more in line with what I was looking for. I kept the two ottomans, however, like in this rendering, it looks like it's sort of somebody's taken a bite out of this ottoman, but that's just a mistake in how it was rendered. And then if I change the angle, I kept the layout that Modsy used with our bed up against the wall over here. I kept the idea of the sconces, but I swapped them out with sconces that I think are a little more substantial. I also swapped out the nightstands. I think these are from Anthropology. I think they just look kind of antique and a little bit vintage, but they're not too distressed. I think it also looks kind of nice with the darker wall colors if we were to keep that. And then I put these pictures above the sconces. I think obviously this looks really awkward, but I couldn't find pictures available to swap these out for that were smaller and would be more in proportion with the space here. I think I might like to put a picture under the sconce or just something not as tall here, but this was the best option I could find. I also wanted to make the room feel a little bit warmer, and so I used a rug, an approximation of a rug I would like to have in here. This one is red and a little bit traditional. I think it just makes it feel a little bit warmer and richer. Then on the opposite wall, I put a mirror where our existing floor mirror is. I think we could probably paint the perimeter of the mirror that we currently have and keep it, but I think this is a nice option for sort of seeing what something that ties in. I think the wood ties in with the rest of the room nicely, so I put that mirror against that wall. And then I put a leather chair next to the window. If we move our bed from where it is between the two windows right now, then we could have a nice little seating arrangement for reading, and our cat would probably sit there and look out the window and stare at birds most of the day, to be honest. Last but not least, we have the guest bedroom. So if you followed my videos for any length of time, you probably know that I've always been sort of torn between wanting a guest bedroom that is a dedicated guest bedroom that is ready to go at a moment's notice if somebody needs a place to stay, and the more practical alternative of having an office. Realistically, we don't have guests over all that much, and so in this space, I told the Modsy designer to play around with both options, either having more of an office or more of a guest room feel. I also wanted to stick with the same kind of traditional look that I wanted in both the living room and the master bedroom, but I wanted it to be a little more playful. So I told her to have some more fun in this room. This is the first set of design options that they sent me for the guest room, and this is the more it's a dedicated guest room option of the two. So here we really just have a bed. I like that it's upholstered. It has kind of a traditional shape. I'm not sure about the colors on the walls. Right now it is white. It's just plain builder white in that room, and I think it is a little too stark, but I'm not sure that I like this particular color on the walls, but it's good to be able to see it and know for sure what I do and don't like. And here's another little view of the room. Again, the detail is just really compelling. It looks real, but I'm not sure that this is really the best use of the space for our needs right now. So instead of that original design, what I'm leaning closer to is what they provided in the second design option for the guest room, which is what you see here. And this is more of an office vibe. So I like that they gave us a desk, but it's a secretary desk, so we can sort of tuck away laptops or any other things that we're working on into the desk itself. So if we do have guests over, then all of our personal things, desk-related things, can sort of be tucked away. I also discussed with a Modsy consultant trying a twin bed. I think in the last 4 years, in the 4 years that we've lived here, a couple has stayed with us once. So we've never really needed a big bed. And this particular bed is a trundle as well, which wouldn't be the best if we were ever host to couples again, but I think it does, again, lend itself better to our particular uses for this space right now. I think it being more of an office is a better option for us. And then over here, they've incorporated a bookcase. I like the idea of being able to lessen sort of the weight of books that we have on our bookcases in the living room right now. Not the physical weight, but I think visually it's just a lot going on. I do like our book collection, and so I think it would be nice to spread it out and maybe keep some books in our guest room and some in the living room just to help balance out that bulk of books that we do have. Now, while I like the layout of this room and sort of the functionality that this room lends itself to, I do think it's a bit too busy. This rug is really not at all the kind of style I wanted, neither is this bed, but that's what revisions are for. All right, finally, here is my attempt at revising the designs for the guest room. Just to point out here, whenever I start making revisions, it does not render as nicely as the images from the Modsy team. For example, here on the wall, you can't even see what picture is supposed to be in this frame. So there are some little glitches like that, but it's still good for helping me to communicate back to the Modsy team and for giving me a sense for what things will look like just playing around on my own. So I kept the idea of a secretary desk and a chair that could easily move to be in front of the secretary desk, but we can tuck it away if we have guests over. Here's the same room at a different angle. And in this room, I played around with a full-size bed. Right now we have a queen, and I'm not sure we can really, it makes me a little bit nervous to think about only having a twin-size bed in case we have guests over. A part of me likes the idea of having a more standard size bed for when we do have guests, and so this is theoretically what a full size bed would look like in this space. And I picked these night tables because they're very similar to the nightstands that we currently have in our master bedroom, so we could possibly reuse those. And then I included a little leather chair, again just more seating. To me it makes the space feel more like kind of a study that my husband and I can use instead of being strictly a guest room. And here's a little aerial view of the whole thing. I included a red rug. This might be the same red rug that I included in the master bedroom. I don't want two red rugs, but I was trying to warm up the space and give it more of that traditional vibe. So there you have it. That is where I'm at with Modsy at this point. I have another consultation call with Megan coming up tomorrow, and I hope that she and I can really start to nail these things down and for this to start becoming a reality. Since the theme of my channel is usually minimalism, and so far this video has nothing to do with minimalism, I feel like I would be remiss to not mention that the majority, definitely more than half of the pieces of furniture that we have right now are things that we were able to buy secondhand, and they're still in really good condition. So if there are pieces that we decide to swap out, then I will be reselling some of these pieces of furniture, and that will help recoup the cost of anything that we buy that is new or new to us. If there are secondhand options that will work with the designs, then I'm going to try to do that and buy locally. And there are still a couple of pieces that I'm going to try to reuse. Things like this dining table and the marble tables, the coffee table and the console table in the living room, I think we can reuse, as well as some things like lamps and end tables where appropriate. But I'm not going to try to turn this into a video about minimalism. That's just something I figured I'd throw out there because people are probably wondering. But I think that's going to be it for me. I'm really excited to see what we can do from here on out. Again, this is not a sponsored video. It's just something I've wanted to try for a long time. And so far it's been great to see from these professionals, like, yes, I can actually do a lot of the things that I've wanted to do with this house for a long time. So it has been money well spent, and I can't wait to see what happens. That's going to be it for me today. As always, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you've enjoyed this glimpse into what I've been up to, and I'll see you next time.